Hello, I am Becca Rue, and these are Rue's Musings. Today we're talking about the elements. So one of my favorite things about the yoga philosophy and the yoga practice is it gives you a number of different prisms to view your life, so that we can put ourselves into these different categories and have a better idea of who we are and how we function in the world and how we function in our yoga practice. And one of my favorite of those prisms are the elements. And the elements actually link up perfectly with the principles of alignment in Anusara Yoga. And the first principle of Anusara Yoga is called open to grace, and the element associated with open to grace is space. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The second principle is called muscle energy, and that's related to earth. The third is the moving the thighs back, and that's related to water. The fourth is the tailbone lengthening down, and that's related to fire. And the last is the bone energy from the focal point in the body, extension through the bones, and that's related to air. And when I was learning this style of yoga, we talked about the elements a fair amount, and particularly which of these elements you sort of associate with the most, or that you gravitate towards, or you have inside of you. And it's interesting because who we are inside of our relationships, inside of our professional lives, inside of our bodies are usually the same. I'll give you an example. So before I started practicing Anusara, and when I first was introduced to what I'm introducing you to today, I was clearly, in my eyes, all water and air. So what does that mean? If Earth is walking along and runs into a problem, it just pounds into the problem. It doesn't try to solve it, it just bangs its head against the problem. If water's walking along, runs into a problem, it just goes around. If fire's walking along, runs into a problem, it just burns through it. Air, same thing as water, sort of goes around. So that how I dealt with things in my life was very air and water, not very like super angry. Fire's pretty angry and really passionate and intense. Earth is just very clear and steadfast and solid, and I'm just kind of, I mean, you get it from these videos how water and air I am. That's sort of what water and air are. So we can think about inside of these elements that each of us have all of the elements inside of us. So it's not really about balancing water and fire per se, but inside of each element, balancing it in and of itself, so that we're not too watery or not watery enough, or too fiery or not fiery enough. So I really like to look at these elements around cultivating the others, so that if water and air come really naturally to me, which again, we've talked about in other videos, that can be both a real gift and a hindrance. So that water being fluid and flexible and kind of go with the flow and creative like air, those are all great things, but I was too much of it. One of my stories is when I was in college, I was driving, I had a Volkswagen Bug, one of the new ones, and there's dips in the road where I live, down by the college, like pretty substantial dips, and I was just being airy, driving along pretty fast and didn't notice the dip, so just slammed the bottom of my car on the road. Like, people came out of their houses to hear what the ruckus was, to which I just pulled the car over and just walked to class. I was like, that never happened. I'm not going to deal with that at all. I'm just going to pretend like nothing happened. I don't need a car ever again. My car can just live there now. So it took a lot. So it's fire and earth to me to be like, I have a problem. How do I figure out how to fix this problem? That's fire more so than earth. And then we come to space, and space is a fascinating element to me, and it gets confusing. So when I've had these conversations before, everyone's always asking a lot of questions. So you guys can type in some questions, and I'm happy to answer them if questions come up about this. And space is inside of all the elements, and it is all the elements. So that it is that we are only in this present moment always. It's kind of the be here now philosophy. And everything's fine inside of space. It's just softening and opening and receptivity and grace, thus open to grace. So to me, when I was learning about open to grace and spaciousness, the mantra for me is it's okay. Like, it's okay. I don't know if you guys need to hear that as much as I did, or I do, but when we get intense, it's okay. Or even if we get injured, right? When we get injured, we want to create this whole story about how life will never be the same, and maybe it won't, but it's still okay, Or if you get sick, it's okay. Or if you're in a fight with someone, it's okay. And that's space and that's grace. And to me, we are all lacking space in our lives. So when I'm teaching, it's one of the things that I like to ask us in yoga class is who in this room doesn't feel like they need more space in their lives? And do you know anyone who couldn't use more space? I guess like real crazy people maybe have plenty of space. I don't know if real crazy really shows up as spacious. So I just wanted to offer that to you today as a way to look at yourself. So do you know which element you're dominant in, or which elements? And it can change. None of this is science, steadfast. You can kind of be like, well, in the winter I'm a little bit more earthy, and in the summer I'm a little more fiery. That would make sense. So it's just a way for you to think about, I wonder which element I am dominant in, and what qualities the other elements hold, like passion for fire and me, or steadfastness, real clarity, or discipline. So to me, earth is very disciplined. Ugh. Earth, discipline. I really wanted to work on that. So I have, and now all my elements are a little bit more balanced. And space is just loveliness. We can't have too much space, I don't think. What do you guys think? Which elements are you dominant in? And are you interested in cultivating the other ones? Let me know. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.